The UGC NET registrations have opened and the list of tentative dates is out. Now with the forms out, the countdown has officially begun. If you're someone who is deep into your preparation and have been doing it consistently for months now, you know you've got this. But if you're someone who has just started your NET preparation or have been delaying it for months now for some reason, then you know that you're pretty much at a tough spot right now. Given the vast syllabus of UGC NET English, you must be feeling pretty much overwhelmed right now as to what should I focus on, where should I begin, what should I do right now? And at some point in your preparation, you must have thought that is there any way that I could just focus on few important topics and boost my chances of clearing the exam instead of focusing everything and read each and every page one by one? If that thought crossed your mind, then this video is for you. In this video, I'll tell you exactly which topics are the most scoring for both paper 1 and paper 2, how to study them smartly, and how you can make your prep less stressful and more effective. So stay tuned till the end of this video and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So let's begin our discussion with paper 1. As you already know, paper 1 is a mandatory paper for your NET exam, irrespective of the core subject that you choose for paper 2. It constitutes a variety of topics and subjects starting from teaching aptitude, research skills, logical reasoning, to basically your communication as well. Now understand one thing, guys, that when I'm talking about paper 1, it is as an important paper as your paper 2. Remember that it constitutes 100 marks, 50 questions for 2 marks each, and if you do not qualify there, as in you do not cross a particular cutoff for paper 1, you wouldn't qualify for your NET exam no matter how great marks you have got for your second paper. So please pay attention and prepare thoroughly for paper 1. Now, paper 1 consists of 10 different chapters or 10 different topics, each a combination of theoretical subjects as well as numerical subjects. A lot of UGC NET aspirants get scared by the fact that, there are so many topics in paper 1. We have just been preparing for paper 2 right now. Now, how am I supposed to focus on paper 1? If you find yourself having these thoughts, these doubts constantly, then let me tell you that you can easily clear paper 1 by focusing on some of the most scoring topics there. So what are the most scoring topics in paper 1? The first one is teaching and research aptitude. Within teaching aptitude, you need to focus on the basic concepts of education and teaching, the learner characteristics, different methodologies of teaching, as well as the evaluation systems. Similarly, under research aptitude, you need to focus on what is research, right? Types of research, sampling techniques, hypotheses, right? All of those things. Now, as you can see over here, both of these topics are very theoretical in nature, right? So what you need to do is try to make some really good notes, comprehensive notes, so that when you sit down to revise or recall, you are able to understand all of those things. Second, try to get the foundationals of all of these subjects and topics clear. As in, get a basic understanding of the terms, basic understanding of the concepts. Once you have that, then you are good to go. The second most important and the most scoring topic within paper 1 is basically higher education system. So what does this topic include? This topic largely talks about the ancient education system, starting from Vedic education to the education that we had during the Gupta period, the post-Gupta period, the kind of education that we had during the British rule, and the education that we have right now after the changes that were introduced as a result of NEP. So it is a kind of a vast subject, right? It might take you days to cover each and everything, but there are certain subtopics that you can give more priority. So what are those topics? First, focus on the ancient universities in India. Right? Start by studying the ancient educational universities that we have had, what was their significance, how did they decline, all of those things. Second, talk about some of the most important Indian scholars like Aryabhatta and what was their major contribution. Then the next thing that you have to remember and that you have to prepare is basically the kind of education that was there during the British rule. So within that, you have to remember the reports that were introduced, or for that matter, certain acts related to education. For example, Warren Hastings introduced certain changes in education system. What were those changes? Right? So things like that. Secondly, you also need to study and understand the kind of education system that we have had after independence. So the variety of committee reports that were introduced, the kind of acts that were present that made some or the other changes, made some or the other reforms to education, the kind of bills that were passed in parliament during that point of time related to education, right? And you have to even understand NEP, the changes that were introduced in NEP, as well as Niti Aayog. Now, these are some of the most important subtopics that you have to prioritize when you sit down to study higher education system. The next most important and the most scoring topic in paper 1 is communication. Now, when it comes to communication, I think the content is also pretty simple. First, you just need to focus on the different communication models, right? You have Berlow's SMSCR model, you have Aristotle's model, you have the transmission of linear models of communication. So understand what are the different models of communication, make a quick list of their features, understand how they are differentiated from one another. Then you can focus on the different types of communication like verbal, non-verbal, group, intercultural, all of those kinds of communications. Then you can talk about barriers to communication, right? The content, as I've mentioned before, is pretty simple. So if you are thorough with it, if you make good notes, comprehensive notes, you will know how to tackle questions related to communication in UGC NET exam. And finally, the most scoring topic in paper 1, according to me, is comprehension. Basically, reading those unseen passages for the first time and based on that reading, marking the right answers in the MCQs. Practically, for its preparation, you don't have to do anything, especially if you have a good command over English language, if you are fluent, if you can read and write very quickly, you don't actually have to do anything for it. But still, if you're not confident about your language skills, about your command over English language, then all you have to do is just practice one passage each day and see if you can answer the questions correctly. Practice working on a paragraph as well as a poem so that you are able to understand where you stand, how much do you need to prepare, and whether you are able to answer the questions related to it correctly or not. Right? So this is how you need to go about, especially for your comprehension topic. Now, these are some of the most scoring topics for paper 1. To give you a quick recap, the first one was teaching and research aptitude, second one was higher education system, third, communication, and fourth, comprehension. Now, this was about paper 1. What about paper 2? When we talk about paper 2, especially the NET paper for English, it has an even broader syllabus than paper 1. Especially for English, you have British literature, Indian English literature, American literature, literary theories, world literature, and so many more. The list is pretty much endless. And the truth is that the paper can ask you literally anything from anywhere. So, what should you focus on? That's where the scoring topics come in. And how do you find out which is the most scoring topic? The answer is quite simple but very effective. Solve previous year question papers. When you solve previous year question papers, you will realize the pattern in those papers. You will realize that there are some writers, there are some works, there are some literary theories and concepts which are frequently asked in UGC NET English exam over the course of these years. Make a list of all of these important and frequently asked works, writers, and authors. And start your preparation by focusing on this particular list. For instance, when you start solving these previous year question papers, you will realize that there are certain recurring patterns, especially in British literature. For example, questions related to Shakespeare, Chaucer, Milton are frequently asked. Then out of the literary periods, you have modern age and post-modern age being frequently asked. Within modern age, some of the most important writers are T.S. Eliot. So here's a quick tip for you. When you prepare for T.S. Eliot, also understand the terms that he has coined. For example, objective correlative, right? The theory of impersonality. These are some of the most important terms that were provided by T.S. Eliot. Then apart from that, within modern age, the important writers and the most frequently asked writers include Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, right? Apart from that, also understand certain schools of poetry or certain literary cliques like Bloomsbury Group, like the aesthetic school of literature. At the same time, within American literature, understand Harlem Renaissance, who are the most important writers there as well. Right? So these are certain quick patterns that you will be able to understand. Within literary theories, post-colonialism becomes an extremely important and frequently asked topic for NET exam. You also have structuralism. At least one question is always asked related to Ferdinand de Saussure and his concepts related to structuralism. You have Derrida's concepts of deconstruction, Roland Barthes. All of these are very important and frequently asked literary critiques. So to give you a quick recap for whatever we discussed, especially for paper 2, is that you do not need to focus on everything, especially if you have just started your preparation or you're going to start your preparation. Because towards the end, especially towards the month of June, you might mix up everything. You might get confused. You might mix up the dates, the publication years, and also mix up the chronology of it. What you do need is a strategy and the ability to spot the topics that are frequently asked in NET exam over the course of these years. So how do you do that? You practice PYQs, right? You make your own frequently asked tracker. You start prioritizing these topics and then you move on to the lesser known areas. If you're someone who is running short on time or you don't want to go through this entire process of solving PYQs, tracking the frequency and manually listing down the important writers, works, years, and even the theories, then I've got it down for you. You can check out my full-length video on the top 10 frequently asked questions in UGC NET English exam, where I walk you through some of the most important frequently asked questions in this particular exam, period by period, writer by writer, which will give you exactly the idea about the most scoring topics in NET exam, specifically for the English paper. The link for this video is attached in the description box below. So make sure to check it out. It will save you hours of your work and definitely help you focus on what exactly it is that matters. If you found this video informative and helpful, please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more such insights on literature and UGC NET English. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I'll see you in the next one.